Welcome to a demonstration of the Goodtill by SumUp POS app. My name's Connor and I'll be running you through things today. Before we jump into the software, a little background on us. Goodtill by SumUp is the leading provider of iPad POS software in the UK and Ireland, powering some of the UK's most exciting businesses and the largest names in hospitality, with £500 million of transactions processed annually. We cater to more than 1,400 customers within the hospitality sector, and our POS systems run in over 650 cafes and restaurants, along with pubs, bars and nightclubs, hotels, major sports stadiums, offices and schools. We're now logged into our point of sale app. As you can see here, it's split into two halves. We've got the basket on the left hand side and all of the products on the right. Now, products can be broken down into 4 layers, and it's essentially up to you how these layers look and flow. So the first layer we have is along the top. This is what we call our categories. So in our case, hot drinks, cold drinks, hot food and so on. Just below that, we then have our product layer. So these are the squares that we see underneath. Now these products can have different photos assigned to them. They can be different sizes. You can just text and color coordinate if you prefer. Really whatever you feel would pick up best amongst the staff. The third layer down we have in our system is what we call our variant layer. So if I click on my cappuccino in this example, we have a pop-up with small, medium and large. This is quite an important part of our system. It does a number of things. Firstly, it can dictate the cost price of the product to you as a business. Second, it dictates the price of the product to the customer, and it can also affect how much stock comes out of the system. We then have a final layer in our system, which is what we call our modifier layer. So if I click on medium here, because we're on the example of coffees, we have the different types of syrups, we have the different types of milk. So I click on my vanilla syrup here, that goes through fine. We then have our milk section. Now on this example, we've got a minimum and maximum threshold set up. This is just to ensure that staff are pressing the buttons as they should. So the customer we're serving in this example would like some oat milk. So I tap on that there, add the product, and that saves into the basket. If I now click on that medium cappuccino that's in the basket, we have a couple of options. The first thing we see here is tap to edit modifier. Now should a customer change their mind or a staff member make a mistake on a certain item, it's not a problem. They don't need to start the entire sales process again. All they need to do is click tap to edit and we can then change up whatever we need. So in this example, let's say the customer changes their mind, they no longer want the oat milk, they would prefer the almond milk. Click onto oat milk, takes it away, add almond milk, save that change, and you're good to go. Just below that again, starting from the left hand side, we have a live stock feed. We've got a fantastic level of stock management available in Goodtill, a load of different layers, different areas that you can play with, something we can discuss with you. Just to the right of that, we have a note button. This is a really important part of our system, especially for our hospitality customers. If I click on plus note here, I have 2 options. I can either input a custom note, so let's say a customer gives me a very strange request, I can write that in and that's going to print out to the kitchen printer, to the drinks printer and so on. We also have our preset note buttons just below that, so if there are standard things that staff are getting or being asked, we can have those already inputted to save a little bit of time. Just to the right of that again, we have our discount button. Now there are 2 ways to discount in Goodtill. We can either discount by line item, which is what we see here. So I click on plus discount, we have our custom pad on the left hand side and then all of our preset buttons on the right. Now these buttons are totally customizable. You can choose the order, the color, the name and obviously the discount attached as well. We can also discount by entire basket. So if you look down at the bottom left of the screen, just above our pay option, discount button there, same process but just for the entire thing as opposed to a singular item. Next up, we have payments. Now if I click on my pay button, we have a couple of options in here. The first thing we have is amount tendered. So if a customer gives me some cash, should I still be taking cash as a business, I can type in the amount a customer gives me, cash it off, and it will work out my change due. We've also got the quick cash payment methods down at the bottom of the screen, so there's typical note forms that you get over the counter. We then have the SumUp button. Now if you have the SumUp device paired to our system, we click on that and the amount will automatically fly straight over to the PDQ. Now a couple of benefits behind an integrated solution. Number 1, speed of service. In terms of getting the data over to that device, it takes us about 1 to 2 seconds. The customer can then insert their card, tap away. It also minimises the amount of mistakes staff may potentially put through if they were using a manual card reader. So speeds up, end of day, everything like that. If I now click on the 3 dots up at the top of my basket, we have a couple of options in here. The first thing we see is saving a sale or parking a transaction. A very useful feature if a customer, say, comes up to the till, they're about to pay and they realise they've left their card at their table or in their car. You don't have to delete the entire transaction and start again. So instead what we can do is we click save here. We can then save a sales note. So let's say John is my example, and I can then save that order. So I can now continue tending to other customers, putting sales through the system. Now John comes back and he's now ready to pay. I can then get that sale back onto the sales screen. All I need to do is click on my settings cog. 4 tabs down we have save sales. All my parked or saved transactions will be in here. I then need to scroll down to the bottom. I can see my one that I have here, which is John. Click into that. I can review the order, and if I'm happy, I can reopen that, and that's back onto the till. Just below that save button, we then have voiding, as you could imagine, to void a sale. No sale kicks open the cash drawer if you do have one connected. We then have mark as waste. Now, should you want to start tracking waste in our system, we've got a great format for it. Now, as well as being able to purely waste, we can also track your own wastage reasoning as well. So if I click on the mark as waste button, I can create that reason and leave it. Just below that again, we then have petty cash. So this is where you can have money going in or out of the till. It's all tracked for you in number 1, your end of day reports, which can subsequently go through to the likes of Xero or QuickBooks, but it can also flow into a specific petty cash report that we have on our back office. We also have the facility for gift cards and coupons, should those ever be a route that you'd be interested in. Next up is the table service side of our system. Now if I click on my tables tab up at the top of my iPad, it's going to open up our entire floor plan. Now our table system will always have a table in one of 3 colours. Colour number 1 is green. This means it's open, ready for another customer to make use of it. The next colour is red. This means that the table is in use. And then amber means the customer is waiting for their bill. Now to open up a table, there are 2 ways we can do it. Number 1, we can click onto a table and start assigning the items. The other way that we can do it, and what I'm going to do here, is I'm going to take the order in my basket. So let's say a medium cappuccino and a flat white for the purpose of this demo. I can then click onto my tables tab and assign those items. So let's say table number 17. Click onto 17, yes please. I can track covers in our platform, so should I want to work out spend per head and things like that, absolutely fine to do so. So let's say we have 2 people here. Okay, and these items are now for table number 17. Now if this is all the customer wants for now, I can click save down at the bottom left. Save the order. Now that's going to do a number of things. Number 1, it's going to open up the table, as we can see here. And number 2, it's going to send all of those items through to the relevant printers. So food to the food printer, drinks to the drinks printer. Now should a customer want to add to their order, not a problem. All you need to do is click onto the table that they're on, so number 17, edit the order, and add whatever other items they'd like. Let's say another 2 flat whites. Now each time I press save on our system, unless I specify otherwise, it will only print out the most recent items, just to avoid confusion among chefs, baristas and so on. Now when it comes to billing of the table, click onto it, find the table I'd like to process the bill on, so table number 17. I do have a couple of options in here as well, which you may have noticed. We can transfer, so we can move tables around. We can also send kitchen messages wherever needed. But when it does come to the billing side, edit the order. Bottom left I have bill, tap that there. That is going to print out the bill to the relevant printer. It's also going to turn that table yellow, so you can see it's gone into the next stage of the process. And then when it does finally come to the payment side of things, click onto the table, edit the order. I'll have 3 options here. Option number 1 is the regular payment format, so I'll click on pay down at the bottom left, and I can take cash, card, whatever it may be. Alternatively, if it's a group of friends or colleagues, more often than not you're going to need to run a split buy option, which we can absolutely offer. To access this, we just need to click on our three dots at the top of our basket. Our save or parked button is now replaced by this split buy option. Click onto split buy, and then I can either split by people, so 3 people, the system will split the items up evenly, or alternatively I can run the split by item system. So if I click on that there as the example, the first person, they had the medium cappuccino and the flat white. We can then pay their split down at the bottom right. Yes, continue. How they like to pay, cash or card, up to them. I'm just going to cash this off, and that's the payment complete. So the first load of orders or order has been taken, and we can see that saved split payment on the right hand side. And then person number 2, they just need to clear off the rest of the items. So the last 2 flat whites, click on our pay split button, cash or card, I'm going to cash that off. That's the sale complete, all done. If I jump back over to my tables tab, I can see that table number 17 has been cleared, and that is now ready for another customer to make use of it. Now if we look at the top right hand corner of our POS app here, we can see a lockout button. Now this is how we can track and manage different staff in our system. There's no limit to the amount of staff members that can be saved in Goodtill. Each one of them can have their own PIN code that's totally customizable to them. Now a nice benefit of having multiple staff accounts saved in the system is each one can have different levels of access. So you can really cherry pick who can access what. So if I click on my lockout button here, it's going to ask me for that nice and simple PIN code. Now we have a couple of countermeasures in the system to make sure that staff are logging in properly. One of them is auto lockout after each transaction. This ensures that the next person has to log back in. Alternatively, we can have the system sign out after a period of say 30 seconds of inactivity. So you're all covered on that front. But for me to get back into the system, just need to type our managerial code, which is 1234. So I do that, accept it, and I'm back into that account. We now move on to our settings cog. So if I click on that up at the top right of the screen, we have a load of features pop out. The first thing we see is close register, so all of our end of day reporting. So if I click onto that there, we have 2 options here. We can either print out an X-read if we want the paper-based version, or alternatively, we can click Start Close Register to see the electronic version. Now the first thing it'll do is let me know if there are any incomplete sales on the system. So here we have a fair few, but not a problem, we can still close the register off if we like. So if I click Yes Proceed, it's going to fire open our closed register report. Now in here we can see all of the relevant information we need to. So what we started with in terms of our float, our balance, total sales, the payment breakdown in terms of cash and card, so what's been taken, any external payments which links into our online ordering, which I'll cover in another video, all of our best sellers of that day or period by tags and by categories, wastage summary, all those current open sales that I was talking about just a moment ago. So we have a fair few in here, so I'm just going to quickly scroll through all of these. And then right down at the bottom, we then have the options to see the number of sales that have gone through in the trading day or period, the amount of covers, any refunds, and a note section as well, should we want to write ourselves a custom note to see later down the line. But if I'm happy, I can confirm that closed register. That will send off all of the data to our back office, and what it will also do is, if I have them linked up, send the data through to the likes of Xero, QuickBooks and Free Agent. Next up, we have clocking in and out. Now, should you want to track staff hours through Goodtill, we absolutely can offer this. However, what we offer is quite basic. With our system, if we click on the button, staff member clocks in when they start their shift, they clock out when they finish, and our system will produce a clocked report for you. Now, should you want to go into any more depth than this, things like rota management, payroll and absence, we've got a load of partners which we can recommend to you. A couple of tabs below that, we then have our previous transactions option. Now this is a really useful part of the system. This is where we can see every single sale that's gone through the till. We can click into them, we can see exactly what was purchased, we can reissue things like receipts, email receipts and refunds if necessary. Thanks for watching that overview of Goodtill by SumUp. Should you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to our sales team.